Good afternoon and welcome to the Breakaway Business 4-week intensive. This is week 2, and this week we're going to cover the product funnel, the revenue forecast, and strategic marketing. Anyway, okay, so welcome. So we're going to talk about product funnel today, we're going to talk about revenue model today, and we're going to talk about strategic marketing. Just a reminder, we are Tuesdays, 4 weeks, so we have this week, we have next week, and then the following Tuesday. So put those on your calendar. I hope you guys can join us for all of those. If you haven't done so already, please join the Facebook page. There's a link in the email I sent, and there's also, well, you can't get a link on the Facebook page. And then also, if you haven't done so, please complete the questionnaire. It just helps me kind of understand where everybody is, so I can tailor the course a little bit better. And then if you've got any questions, submit them to the chat here, or you can submit them to the Facebook page. I've got a lot that I'm going to cover today. I'm not sure how much time we're going to have for questions at the end, but I'll try to allot some time at the end to answer any questions you might have today. And then as we go through, the Facebook page would be a great place. So just reviewing the homework, I did put a workbook on the Facebook page. So, and I may have sent it, and I believe I sent it in the email as well. But you can download that, and it's a kind of a format for you to put your homework in. So the homework for last week was starting with what's your why, your goals, your business goals, and personal goals if you want to add them. If you don't already have a business, which all of you do, so you can ignore that one. Come up with some model companies if it makes sense. We talked about that last week. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily make sense to find a model company. And then define your target market. What are their demographics? What are their interests? And then answer those 2 questions. What's the problem that I solve? And then how do I uniquely solve it? So that was the homework for last week. Come up with a short little elevator speech with some compelling questions, and then go out and practice that. So like I said, this week we're going to talk about the product funnel and what it is, revenue forecasting, and then strategic marketing. So what is a product funnel? So a product funnel is not a bunch of marketing ideas. It's not a sales funnel. So a lot of people confuse a product funnel with a sales funnel. And a sales funnel is, what are your marketing strategies that you're going to use to sell your products? But your product funnel is a list of your actual products or services, and I use those terms interchangeably. And in my world, the way I view it, what you sell is your business. And so your products are such a key component, because if you don't determine what your products are, then you can't really sell anything. So products actually define the business that you're in. As I said, products and services, I use those terms interchangeably. So if you're a service-based company, when I say products, I'm still talking about your things. So why do you have a product funnel? One is it drives your business. If you don't know what products you're going to sell for what price, it's really hard to make a living or drive a business. If you don't have a funnel, you don't have sales. And we'll go into more detail on what exactly the funnel looks like, and then there's a template out there for you to build upon your product funnel, because I know you all have products, and so we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that. And it is a numbers game, and I'll go into a little bit more about that, but looking at what your products are and how you sell them, starting with the free or low-cost products at the top. It is a numbers game, and so it's filling that funnel and driving people through it. We'll talk more about that. And then it's a nice product flow, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. The key thing as well is you don't have to have a lot of products to start. And sometimes you don't even have to have a lot of products ever. So don't get caught up in, I need to have a fully functional product funnel. Just get out there and start, because that's the most important thing. So there's 3 different types of product funnels. There's a basic product funnel, and I would say 90 to 95% of people have a basic product funnel. There's a single product funnel, which we'll talk about, and then there's a reverse product funnel, which I don't see very often. I just mention it, but we don't go into any depth because it's rare. So this is an example of a basic product funnel. So in this case, this is something that would be a coaching business, and I use that because that looks a lot like my coaching funnel. It starts out with a free or low cost, and actually I have a number of free things. tips for how to keep your senior safety, your senior loved ones safe, tips for how to keep your face looking young and vibrant. So one pager tips is a great free, and then I also have some low cost. So it starts with those things that you can give away to drive people to your website or to a landing page where they can give you your name or email address so you can start building that list. And we'll go into a lot of detail about the list building in next week's class. But typically a product funnel starts with something that you give away for free or something that's very low cost at the top of your funnel. And that's what you distribute everywhere. You give it away at networking events. When we ever get back to having live networking events, you offer them up on your social media, and you oftentimes have a landing page on your website that people go to, and that's how you kind of grow your list. And then it can be a book or an ebook, a webinar, group coaching. So that's kind of a coaching product funnel. But you'll see that in this example and for yours, it starts with your lower cost products at the top, and then it moves down to your more expensive, sophisticated products. Like I said, you don't have to have this many products in your product funnel. This is just an example. The other thing is you tend to, and I'll talk about it now while we're looking at the picture, you strive for selling down the funnel. So I would give them the free thing first, and then I might offer them a book, and then I might offer them a webinar or an online course. Then I might move them into group coaching. Then I might do one-to-one coaching. So as you can see, it's a progressive thing as you go down the funnel, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. The second kind is a one-product funnel, and this is an example of someone who might sell houses. So they have a free or low-cost thing of education at the top, but they really sell one big thing at the bottom, a house or something like that. So that's another example of a different kind of product funnel. And then the third one is this reverse, which for very, very high-end mentoring programs, mastermind type programs, that's all they sell. They don't sell a progressive. They come out of the gate with a very high-end product. Like I said, I don't see that very often, but that's another example of the third kind of product funnel. So how do you develop your product funnel? Well, I'm assuming everybody on the call today already has a product funnel. So this might be more of an exercise in fine-tuning that product funnel, or taking the products that you sell and actually putting them in some kind of a structure, and then see if there's any holes that need to be filled in. But most likely what most people do is create their funnel from the bottom up, which would mean the main thing that you sell, the core product that you sell, you start with that, and then there's this thing, so you start with the core product, there's a thing called splintering, which you start to splinter off pieces of it to sell for less expensive to get people into the flow. So for instance, I have a coaching program, so that's my core product, and I teach my 10 steps to building a profitable business. So I can take one step of those and I could create like an ebook with it, and I could sell that for a small amount of money just to get people to understand kind of what I do. So I would take my core product and I would splinter down maybe a component of it and create a different kind of a product and offer that in my funnel. And then I do a lot of this. So, okay, I'll show you this. So this is my book. You guys probably, most of you have seen the book. This is the same content repurposed over and over and over again. So this book actually came from 2 years of blog posts, but it just follows my 10 steps. Guess what? This class that I created for this is repurposing the content that I already have. So it's taking my core intellectual property and formatting it into something else that I can create and either give away or sell, but it's my same core content. So I often get asked, how do I create content? And I'll start out with, it's easy, because everyone on this call already has intellectual property about what they do and how they do it differently. you probably already have enough intellectual property, enough information to make a product. Like I said, 2 years of blog posts, I formatted them, I put them in a book. I sell this thing, I give this away all the time. Came from something that I had already done. You could have somebody interview you. So interviews are a great way to create some content. You could come on somebody's podcast. That would be an interesting idea, because I have a podcast. That's why I mentioned that. But you could be interviewed on a podcast, and then you could make a product out of that, or that could be part of your free top of the funnel. You could take a particular part of that podcast, because podcasts are usually an hour. You might take 10, 20 minutes of that podcast and make it into an educational thing that you could sell or give away. Videos. You could make videos. Dot, I know, has made a bunch of videos, so you could make videos and sell them or make them part of your free giveaway. You could create webinars. So my thought is, I'm going to take this class that I'm recording right now that I'm doing, and I might create an evergreen webinar that runs online any time of day. Anybody could get to it and go through this course content. So it's easy to take things that you do and create lifelong evergreen content from them. You could go and do, let's say, when we are able to get back out, Dot goes and does a presentation to some seniors. Someone could videotape that, and that could be an education or a class or something that you sell. So just think there are just many, many ways to create content. It's not that difficult. Speaking engagements, like I said, are a great way to create content, because you can have somebody videotape you, and now you've got great content that you can give away or sell. Okay, so this is the creating products made simple. So this is my example of, from one thing you can create a whole bunch of products. So you start with, you outline the steps. You outline the steps of, what do you need to do to keep seniors safe? What do you need to do I have my 10 steps for building a profitable business. So you outline what those steps are on a one-page sheet. 10 tips for this, things people need to know, things people should not do. Those kind of things make a great one-pager. And with the intellectual property you have, you can create a one-pager. So then you take that one-pager and you have somebody interview you on what are those steps. And you create an audio file, and you can have it transcribed and create a document from it. Then you can take those steps and you can further explain them into an ebook. So 1 page per thought. I have an example of that I did with my 10 steps. I have an ebook that I give away that's a blurb on each of those 10 steps. It's product number 2. Product number 3, you take that ebook and you expand it to a full book by outlining more, embellishing and outlining and fleshing out each of those ideas or steps into a chapter. So now you've got a full-fledged book. You can take that book and you can add exercises to it and note pages and create a workbook. And that's exactly what I've done. I've taken my 10 steps ebook, and then I've created a workbook, and I sell the workbook typically for $97. The other thing that I do is I'll sell that workbook for $197, and I will include one hour consult with me. So that consult is I call it a strategy session, but a 1 hour consult with me, which is a way for a person to get to know me better. They know what my core stuff is. They get to know me better. And guess what? That 1 hour consult or 45-minute consult or 30-minute consult is a way to upsell them to the next thing. Right? So now I'm on the phone with them, and I get a chance to say, hey, why don't you join my group coaching program? Or why don't you coach one-on-one with me? No, I'm not quite ready for that. Great, maybe group coaching is better for you. No, I'm not ready for that. Great. How about you buy an online course? Right? So when you've got somebody on the phone, it's not just about providing them the consult, but it's also helping them to move further down your product funnel. Does that make sense from the people that I can see? All right. And then you can take that information and create a live webinar or a seminar. You could do it in person or you could do it online. You can record it And now you can sell that as a standalone product. You can record because you can create it and sell it live, and then record it and sell it as a standalone product. And can you see these are all the same basic ideas of your intellectual property that are just expanded into beefier and more content. I'm not creating new stuff. I'm just expanding on my basic ideas. Then you can expand the webinar or seminar to a multi-week class. So you could have a 1 week, the first week is an introduction and what we're going to do and set the pace, and then you could have each of your steps be another week, and then the last week could be a recap, but you could create a multi-week class, which is exactly what I've done. You'll see I'm going through the 10 steps in this multi-week class. You can record the class and sell that. You can sell coaching or consulting or certifications or franchising from your specific intellectual property. You could hold a high-end retreat somewhere. People pay a lot of money for those when we get back to being able to do that again. And then the last product is create a membership site or a monthly recurring fee that people would buy to get access to a membership site that gives them great content. So the total value of a customer, I want to talk a little bit about this because we talk about selling down the funnel. It's not you just go in and sell one product or the other product or the other product. You sell down the funnel. So the total value of a customer would be adding up the cost of a book. Let's say then they bought a webinar, then they went to group coaching, then they decided, well, I want private coaching. So you add all those down, and that's the total value of a customer. So a total value customer would be the total adding up all of the products in your funnel, because that's the maximum amount of money that a customer could spend with you. Each product leads to the next product, creating a sensible progression of moving down. And granted, not all product funnels look exactly like this. So take the pieces that work for your business and apply them to your business. Don't try to take your business and fit them into my stuff. This is just an example. But one thing I will absolutely expound upon is I see a lot of people who will go and sell somebody a book, or they might buy a webinar, and then they never go back and try to upsell them to the next thing. And so one of the values of a product funnel is to understand if I've got someone who comes in and buys a book or a webinar or something, I want to make sure that I'm in contact with them, emailing them, keeping them in the loop to make sure that I move them down the funnel. Because one day they may buy group coaching. One day they may decide to coach privately with me. So the total value of a customer is really all of the things in your funnel combined together. And remember to follow up with people that have bought something from you but it wasn't ready for them to buy the next thing. Don't leave those guys behind. Make sure that you get back in touch with them. All right, so that's kind of the piece of the product funnel. So the product funnel is the products and services that we sell. The next step is forecasting revenue. So what is a revenue forecast? It is how much of each product you sell over time. And I don't know if all of you do a revenue forecast in your business, but I'm going to make a pitch here for why you should if you don't. It is revenue by product or service. It should be reviewed every month and revised. This is an example of what I use as a revenue forecast. So, and the templates are all available to you. So I put my products and I list my products and services. And sometimes you might have to average them out because people don't always buy one thing. So you can be a little flexible with this. But what are the products and services that you sell and for what price? Like I said, sometimes you might have to average them. And then how many units do you want to sell we're in June. So how many do you want to sell in June? And then how many did you actually sell? No, sorry, one more thing. How many units and then the price. So if it's $100, this is XYZ service, $100, and I want to sell 2 of them in the month of June, then May sales would be $200. Does that make sense? I have another spreadsheet that I use that I couldn't find, so I use this one, that I add the actual number to it. So there's a third column that says, what are my actuals? So this is an example of what a revenue forecast would look like. I would say back into it. So start from where you want to be. I want to make this amount of money in the month of June. Make it realistic, but make it a little bit of a stretch. So start from where you want to be. And then how much of each thing do you need to sell to get there? And so lay that out as a forecast, and realize a forecast is just that. Starting with the end in mind, start with a limited time frame. So if you haven't revenue modeled before, start with the next 3 months. Don't start with 12 months and try to figure out what you're going to do 8 months from now. Start with the limited time. And it's completely okay to guess. So if you don't really know, it's completely okay to like I said, to guess. Hold on, let me get over here. All right, just letting somebody in, because everybody does it, so it's okay to guess. It's a good place to start, or you need to start now. If you're not doing it, don't wait until you absolutely know all of the answers. Just start now, because everybody guesses at the beginning. Start with 3 months. If you haven't done it before, just start with 3 months. And like I said, if it's a guess, it's a guess. That's okay. As you move forward and you track it, you'll learn different sales patterns. They might be over the course of the month. They might be over the course of the year. So just know that it will change as you go through. And then add as you go. So if you're starting out with 3 months, at the end of June, figure out where you are, and then forecast June, July, August. So keep adding more as you go along. And this is why it's important. One is, I want you to get into the habit of doing a revenue forecast. So every month you should be looking at where my revenue comes from, how much did I attain, did I get my goals. It leads to your effective marketing strategies. So if I look at what I sell, and I see how many of each I sold, and I know this is the one, this seems to be really hot, this seems to be something that people are really attracted to, then focus your marketing strategies on that. If you're looking at your revenue model and you're seeing things that aren't selling, then go back and say, am I marketing them at all? Am I marketing them correctly? So a revenue model leads to your effective marketing strategies, and it can define what your marketing strategies look like. A revenue model is how you run your business. I don't know how a successful business owner can possibly effectively run their business without understanding where the money's coming, how much they're forecasting, how much is really coming in. So it's just imperative that you do that to run your business. And it's what successful entrepreneurs do. They run a revenue model. As you can see, the example that I gave is very simplistic. I'm not talking about super advanced spreadsheets and all that. I just do a really simple and dirty revenue model. I don't have a ton of products, but I know what I'm selling month to month. So it's what you need to do. It's what successful entrepreneurs do, but don't overcomplicate it, because it doesn't have to be super complicated. And then you need to update it every month. So look at your forecast versus your actual, what actually came in. Add the next month. If you're adding products, make sure you add those to your revenue model. And then over time, as you expand, you'll have a 12-month revenue forecast that you just keep adding to as you go. Always know where you are, because it's super important. So your revenue model dictates that. And then it also gives you a vehicle to look and say what needs to change. What do I need to add? What do I need to get rid of? What's working? What's not? So looking at that month to month to month, you know what you need to change. All right, so this is my favorite part, because this is marketing. So we got through the product funnel of what you sell. We got through the revenue model piece of how you forecast those revenues. Now let's talk about marketing, because marketing is, I like to say, it's the secret sauce. It's the thing that you have to do in your business if you're going to have a successful business. Nothing happens in a business without marketing. You have to have a written down plan. I can't tell you how many people I have coached over the years who I've said this to, and they'll say, oh yeah, I did my marketing plan. It's around here somewhere. Like, I wish I had $1 for every time someone said it's around here somewhere, because that means it's in a drawer and they never look at it. So first of all, you've got to create it. Second, it's got to be written down. And third, it's got to be something that you look at and review on a monthly basis. Marketing is typically 60 to 80% of what you do in your business, so it's super important. I have this concept of online and offline strategies when it comes to marketing. So offline strategies are the things that we do that don't include a computer. So we go to networking events, speaking engagements, Chamber of Commerce, those kind of things. Those are all offline types of things that we do. And I won't go into that. Because we're all, like right now, we're online, but we're kind of offline in that we could interact face to face. Those lines get a little blurred, but I won't confuse it. We'll just stick with offline. And then online strategies are the things that you do on the computer. They're email campaigns, they're social media, they're ad campaigns, all the things that you do online. Those are online strategies. In the workbook, it's not in the workbook. That's why I sent it. I thought it was in the workbook, but it's not. There is an example of low cost and free marketing strategies. It's a document and it's on the Facebook page because it didn't make it into the workbook and I didn't have time to fix it all. So there's an example of that. And it's not an exhaustive example, but it's an example of some marketing strategies. Like I said, low cost and free marketing strategies. So the homework here is, we'll go through the homework, but the strategy here is to pick at least 3 online and 3 offline strategies. Now, I know you're all doing marketing, so just add those to whichever category. But the idea is to have in your plan at least 6 strategies. You don't have to implement them all at one time. I wouldn't say implement them all at one time, but I want you to have a list on your list, 3 online and 3 offline, strategies that you've got in your back pocket. And then choose 3 to 5 of those to actually implement. So you might have 6 strategies that you might implement. Choose 3 to 5 of them to actually do. And add the ones that you're already doing to that. And then I like to say start with offline strategies. Because in a lot of our businesses, the goal of online marketing is to get offline. And so how I kind of revised it for where we are today is face-to-face includes Zoom calls, face-to-face, or phone calls. Those to me are considered, even though Zoom is online, it's considered an offline strategy. And I say that because for most of our businesses, people don't go online and see something that you've posted or an ad that you have and just automatically go and buy your service. Some people do, but for a lot of us, it takes a phone call, it takes some interaction to move them through the product funnel. So offline strategies typically get you to that place faster than online strategies do. I hope that makes sense. And then create a plan. It has to be written down. I'm absolutely adamant about it. Define what your strategies are. Create your action items. Create your deliverables. And I'll talk. So let me talk. Well, so here's how I create my plan. And there's a picture of it so you can see it. I have 3 things in my marketing plan. One is action items. One is deliverables. And then the last one is due dates. And then we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, so here's the template. It's in the workbook. So this is what I do. I just get out yellow lined papers. You don't and you don't have to do it this way. This is just a simple way that I do my marketing strategies. It's a template you can use. Make it your own. But I take out a piece of paper and I write the top what my marketing strategy is going to be. So let's say my marketing strategy is video posting on social media. All right. So then I write down, what do I need to do? I need to, every Monday I create a video and I need to post the video and I need to edit the video and maybe I need to do some things in Facebook, create a page or a group, or so you just write down what the strategy is, one strategy per page, and then what do I need to do? And then what are the due dates? Because of the way that my mind works, so adopt this or not, I differentiate action items from deliverables. And deliverables are things that I need to create. So let's say the action item is posting video to Facebook twice a week, something I try to do. The deliverable is creating those videos. So that is time that I need to separate out to figure out what I want to say and actually record the video. Deliverables are things like writing a blog post or writing a newsletter. I know Dot does a newsletter. So to me, I separate out the deliverables of things that I need to create, and I put those in chunks of time on my calendar, which is why I separate them out. Now, you could just make a long list of the things that you need to do and not go to that detail. I just find it really helpful for me to, if I need to go write a blog post, which I don't do anymore, now we'd say it's podcasting, right? So I need to do the interview, and then I need to edit the podcast. Well, that's a deliverable that I need to sit down for 2 hours and edit that podcast and create all the things that I do, and I will put that on my calendar. So that's why I separate them out. You don't need to do that, but you need to have a written down plan. 1 page for each of your marketing strategies with due dates. And then this page becomes my working plan, right? And I've got multiple pages. If I've got 3 different marketing strategies that I'm working on at any time, I've got 3 pages that I write all over and I cross them out and what am I going to do? What have I done? And it becomes a working plan. It's not this beautiful, pristine thing. It becomes my working plan. So it's important to have it written down. Then the first Monday of every month, I get my sheets out and I figure out what have I done, where am I, and what do I need to do going forward. So I analyze what's working. Sometimes I will have these and I won't have done anything. I'm sure that never happens to any of you. But sometimes I'll be like, oh, I never got to that. So then I got to figure out where it's gonna fit in. This also gives me a chance to look at, and another thing that I'll add to the page is somewhere I'll put, what is my intended outcome? What do I want to get? I want to get names and email addresses. I want to get a certain number of phone calls, which ultimately lead to business. So with my marketing strategy, I want to know what am I trying to do so that every month I can figure out whether I'm actually accomplishing what I want to do. And then the other thing I would say is it helps to have accountability. So it helps to have people that you talk to, whatever that is, weekly, monthly, that kind of help you stay accountable to what you want to do. So that's kind of another important part of the marketing plan. And then, of course, you have to execute on the plan. So obviously, it only works if you do it. Don't put your plan in the drawer. I can't tell you how many people, like I said, do that. Set aside each time each week for marketing. I said 60 to 80% of what you do should be marketing. So set aside time each week to make sure that happens. Calendar it. So calendar it is what I call taking those things that I need to do and putting them on calendar as if it was an appointment with myself. So that's calendaring. And then find an accountability partner or someone who might help you stay accountable to get done what you want to get done. And sometimes that comes in the form of a mastermind or a group of people who get together on a frequent basis to exchange ideas. And then team. We'll talk a lot about this in the 4th week, but hiring some people to do some of these things for you will be very helpful, and we'll go into a deep dive on that on the last week. But team can absolutely help you execute on your plan. And then the last step is to analyze and revise your plan. So review it monthly. Like I said, I review my plans every the first Monday of every month. figure out what's working and what's not working. Because if you don't analyze, you don't look at it. I know I've had a ton of clients who do marketing, and I ask them, how effective is your marketing? And they don't really know. They're not really looking at it and saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to get from it, what's working and what's not working. It's amazing to me. So that's a super important part. Reviewing your plan frequently, keeping it up to date, adding new strategies as necessary. Because when you start looking at the strategies that you're doing, you might find that there are some that aren't working. And then it's okay, stop doing that and go add another strategy, because you're going to find that that's going to be what happens. So homework, create or update your product funnel, create and update your revenue forecast, create or update your marketing plan, post to the Facebook group. So questions, or if you guys want to post any of your homework to the Facebook group, do that. And then here's what's coming up next week, and then we'll jump. What do we got? We got 20 minutes, so we'll jump into some questions. Next week, we're going to talk about networking and building your list, your email list. We're going to talk about good practices for email marketing, and then we're going to talk about sales, which I love that part of it. And then the last week, we're going to talk about systems, team, more depth, and analyze and revise, and what your next steps are. All right, so let me stop sharing. All right, does anybody want to unmute and have any questions? I haven't looked at the chat yet either. So anybody have any questions?
Janet?
Yes.
Can you go back to our homework assignment? I know you're going to send it out in an email, but just real quick, I just want to write that down real quick. If you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Oh, shoot. I don't know how you go back.
I don't know how to do any of this.
One, two,
Just,
three.
with a
There it is.
PowerPoint.
There you go.
Or read it to us.
Janet, did you find it? I can tell you how to go back.
So can you not see it?
No.
Right, you're not sharing the screen yet.
Oh, duh. I can see it.
That's good. Just read it to me.
Okay. Share. There it is.
Okay.
And I won't go into full screen, so that way, if I have to go back and forth.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, I want to tune into your podcast. How do I do that?
I'll send you a link.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else have any questions?
I like the way you explain what deliverables are. I really don't hear about that, or right? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, things I need to create, because those do take a lot of time.
Yep.
And then sometimes I beat myself up for it taking so much time. But when it has your personality in it, you want it to be impactful, I guess it's going to take time. Is that what you find too?
I would, absolutely. Tiffany, were you asking a question? I couldn't hear you.
I was just asking if you would share the podcast with the group.
So it's called The Breakaway Entrepreneur. And so if you Google the Breakaway
Why
Entrepreneur
not put a link right in
podcast.
the chat box?
What's that?
Why not put a link right in the chat box?
Oh, that would mean I have to go find the link, and
Oh,
I'll do that.
or type the name in the chat box.
I'll do that too. Here we go.
So I have a grandiose idea of how much money I want to make per month. I'm not there yet. COVID really wiped out my whole business. So do I start with just like a really small amount in those first 3 months? Like that's my projection is.
Yeah.
a couple clients and then,
Yep,
okay.
absolutely.
When I see we're going to do a podcast interview today in
We
about
are.
an hour or so.
Yes, we are. Okay, that's the name of it. And you can find it on Apple Podcasts. You know, I'm just trying to navigate it all.
I think you're
So
doing great.
I want to say, because one of the things I love about you, Janet, is that you always dive into whatever it is you're teaching. So, because I've known you now a few years, and in our women's business group, you talk about like you don't just, okay, you know, you got to do this marketing plan, or you've got to do, let's just say it's LinkedIn or whatever it might be. You learn how to do it so you can really verify or validate that that's a good strategy. All the different things that you've talked about over the years. And I admire that about you, because it's not easy and it's very time consuming. And, you know, learning how to do a podcast, and you do a beautiful job of it, and doing all of this. And, you know, every one of us, we're all learning new skills. And I think it's, you know, hey, pat yourself on the back for showing up, all of us, right? And for
Absolutely.
not giving up. I see a lot of people giving up. Whatever it
Absolutely.
is they're doing, they've just sort of given up. And I'm sorry, but I just can't, and I won't. And I think a lot of us here, or all of us here, probably feel the same way. And I just, Jan, I want to say thank you, because you lay it out in a way that's really helpful for me to
Awesome.
figure out next steps.
I
I know
totally agree.
I know it's a lot. I mean, I know it's a lot of work, and it's also one of those things. I think you got to do what you need to do today. Like, you could walk away from this class saying, "There's no way I can do all of that." So pick one thing that you can do, and if it were me, I'd say pick marketing, because that's the most important thing
Yeah.
that you do. So if the one thing you leave from today is like, I don't want to go spend all my time going back and recreating a product funnel, and then I don't want to, you know, I kind of know what kind of revenue I get, but I don't want to spend all this time with spreadsheets and blah 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 blah. But marketing is something that nobody does as well as they could possibly do. And I don't care how good you are. Like, there's always a way we can improve on our marketing. And so if that, my one takeaway would be, if there's a one thing that you're going to do as a result of this, it would be just revisiting your marketing.
Excellent. Well, I found out that we can finally, I think, go back to work starting Friday.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm spending the rest of this week just getting back in there and getting my treatment room ready. It's a challenge.
So, Fonda Joe, another thing I would invite you to think about is contacting all of your your clients,
Uh-huh.
and letting them know. Maybe you don't schedule them all for Friday, but get them on the calendar for
Definitely
next
not.
week, right? So let them all know that you're back, and start filling up your calendar, because
Yeah.
I'm sure they're dying to see you.
Well, I have 10 people who have prepaid treatments, and
Yes.
they're the first people that I will be calling
Yeah.
because they're anxious to get back in. But I do send out a newsletter. I send a basic newsletter once a month, try to, and then throughout that month, I will send them other little things. Maybe it's an idea or something that they should try new or that kind of thing, some tips and that sort of thing. So I've been keeping in touch throughout this
Good.
90 or 100 days, whatever it's been.
Right.
So now it's a matter of getting that room ready and get back there.
Good for you. I'm really happy to hear that. I know you've been chomping at the bit for quite
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah. But this is all going to be very helpful as well. Yeah.
Good.
Thank
Good.
you.
Sure. Anybody have any other questions?
So my clients, like they only need me for, 3 months or so, just prior to birth and just after birth. Um, so because I've thought about having a newsletter or something like that, but they really don't need me for that long. So would a newsletter in this situation work?
Well, so here's my whether it's a newsletter or it's a monthly. I mean, a newsletter to me seems like a lot of work.
It is.
Which for those of you who do that, I would say, but I would suggest that you email them once a month with some tip or some newsworthy thing that's in the news, because people have multiple children and they know people who have children.
Yeah.
So let's say I had a child and I worked with you, and then I had 3 years went by and I had another child, and I'm like, who was that woman? Like, but if you're sending me something every month that has something related to that, you're in my mind. And I find people do that to me. I don't even open up the emails sometimes, but it reminds me that they are a realtor, they are a such and such. And then people who have small children, especially infants, seem to know a lot of people who are having children. So just staying front of mind, I think, is important, just because you want to make sure that you're the person that they think of when it comes up.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
But an email's a lot easier than a newsletter, so I think they can be just as effective.
Awesome. Thank you.
You betcha. All right, anything else?
Not right now.
All
We got
right.
work to do.
All right, so you
got
guys got a
work
lot
to
to work
do.
to. So I'll let you go. Thank you for coming. Once I'm finished with the replay, I'll put it up on the Facebook page, so you'll have access to it there. If you've got any other questions, just shoot them up on the Facebook page.
Great.
Great.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, have a good afternoon.
You too.